Hey guys, welcome back to the Becoming TV series, where we explore the deep truths and the principles that will enable you to become everything you were created to be, to do, and to have. This is Wally Moana. So, let's talk about something really deep here. Let's talk about crisis. Crisis, deep word, and crisis manifests itself in practically every sphere of human existence. You can have economic crisis, health crisis, and we've witnessed this over and over again. COVID, the global financial meltdown of 2008, etc. You can have individual crisis, you can have personal crisis, you can have corporate crisis, you can have national crisis. Crisis is a word that we're unfortunately all too familiar with. But that's not the issue. The issue is, how do you deal with the crisis? That's the issue that I think we need to talk about, and that is why I decided to use this platform to talk about it today. Right? Now there was this movie I watched, actually a TV series, right? And this TV series sort of focused on the ancient Roman time, or the Roman period, where they had gladiators, right, and all of that. Now, in this particular episode of the TV series, one of the slaves was a gladiator, had done something wrong against his dominus, his master, and his master ordered for him to be whipped, to be flagellated. Now, when the Romans wanted to whip you, this wasn't like an ordinary whipping. This is not your normal belt or your normal koboko, right? For those of you who understand what koboko is, that's long whip thing that they used to hit you with. The Romans, these were scientific whippers, right? Now they had the long leather belt or whatever it was that whip, but at the end of it, they will attach sharp objects like broken pieces of glass or small parts of metal, very sharp, so that when the whip is flung in your direction, you will experience two types of pain. The first is the actual sting of the whip, right? And because it's very long, it wraps itself around your body, so you feel that best. But that's not all. The more painful one is when they are removing the whip. Why? Because the broken pieces of glass or the small pieces of metal, those sharp objects, would have embedded themselves in your skin. You know, if they're doing your back or your legs or whatever, they would have embedded themselves in your skin, such that when the whip is being removed, you will feel such agony that you wouldn't even think is normal. That is what the Romans did. So, for instance, if you read about when you're reading about the crucifixion of Jesus or the whipping of Jesus, when it was said, or when it was written that he was whipped, he was flogged, this is actually what happened. Very painful, agonizing, terrible experience. But that's not where I'm going. Where I'm going is that in the TV series I was talking about, the guy that was ordered to whip the slave or gladiator was actually his friend, but he couldn't go against the orders of the master because they were all slaves. So he just gave him one piece of advice, and this is the advice that I want us to pay attention to. He said, "Embrace the pain." Embrace the pain. So what happens when we're going through crisis? What is our normal reaction? We actually want to run away. We see financial crisis, we want to run away. We want to pray, we want to fast, we want to pour anointing oil in our head, we want to get all means to get money. If we're having an emotional crisis, we want to bury our heads in the sand. We want to stop communicating with people. We want to just X out of human relationships, right? Our natural tendency is to run away from crisis. But I'm saying do the opposite. Embrace the pain. Why? Why? The question, of course, is why. Now, here is why. How you view a crisis is very critical, because that determines your response to it. If you feel that the crisis is something that must be avoided at all costs, your natural response, which is what we typically do, is to run away from it. But if you see crisis as an opportunity your perspective will be different, because yes, you will go through that pain, the pain of crisis, but you would come out a far stronger person, because you would have taken the lessons embedded in that crisis. Because crisis doesn't actually come to destroy your life, it actually comes to teach you a lesson. So for instance, if you're the type that has been very flamboyant in your spending, you get money, you just spend it, like clothes, toys, whatever it is, sooner or later you will have financial crisis. You can't run away from it, right? Now the crisis is going to teach you that do this. You can't continue with this spending pattern, otherwise you're going to find yourself permanently broke. So when that crisis comes, when you have empty pockets, I believe in that is very painful. When you're in debt, right? When everybody's calling you asking for their money, that is a period that you will hate yourself, especially if it's so much. But the crisis is saying this is your time to learn how to be financially prudent. This is your time to learn how to save. This is your time to learn how to invest. This is your time to change your spending patterns such that at the end of it, you'll become wiser. Now there is always